We know that the Big Ten is already pulled out. We know the Pac-12 has already pulled out. They cast their votes. We know that the ACC and the SEC want to play, and they more or less cast their votes. The Big 12 has been kind of silent, and I've been really interested to see how that goes, because silence is one way of doing it. But that also means you don't know what you're doing, right? So you want to be able to continue to talk this through. Add to this that last Saturday night, Oklahoma sent a press release out at 10 o'clock saying that they sent their players home precisely because they did not know when they would be playing football, because the game that was moved up to August 29th against Missouri State from September 5th might be actually moved back to September 12th, but we don't know that for sure because we don't know what the schedule looks like. And the Big 12, unlike the ACC, SEC, Big 10, and Pac-12, hasn't put out a schedule of opponents. And that's the other thing that you're right to be pissed about. Nothing has changed about the virus and the disease in the time between, one, getting back to football in late July, and two, releasing your schedule like last week, okay? And that was a really cool thing, and we all felt euphoric about it. I made an emergency upload about it because that's where we were, right? Now, Dominic, you're not going to get too far with me talking about liberal versus Republican. You're just not, all right? It's a good way to get put in timeout. Matter of fact, I'm telling you, the political conversation on this particular topic at this particular day, I'm just not going to deal with. I'm just going to be a tyrant right now. I can't. You know, I'm trying to talk through the information at hand and not the politics, because you all know what I do with politics, okay? Many of you believe differently than I do, and that's okay. I'm good with that. We're cool. But I'm not going to deal with it right now in the chat. I'm just not. All right, so if there are questions in the chat, please drop them in here. I know that one has been, what's this going to do to recruiting, RJ? I don't think a whole hell of a lot, quite honestly. I mean, Tumise Adeleye reopens his recruitment, but I don't think that has anything at all to do with the Big Ten choosing to play or not play football. I really don't. I think it's more about what was he going to be able to do at Ohio State and what other options there are, particularly Texas A&M, Alabama, and Florida. I think that class at Ohio State, and for that matter, classes in the Big Ten, are going to mostly stay together, but they could get poached. And the reason they could get poached is because, let's say that the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC get to play football. Well, then let's also say, a big one, they get to have visitors. We all know that one of the biggest reasons that a kid commits to a school is because he visited that place last or visited that place most. So expect to get, poached, which is what Ohio State did to a bunch of teams under Urban Meyer, and right now even with Ryan Day. So that's part of recruiting, right? That doesn't really have anything to do with the pandemic. I think your recruiting class also knows that they're not playing college football this year. They're trying to make sure they get their senior seasons of high school football in, and they are already trying to set up for next year. Now, that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at recruiting is, how are you going to be able to impress upon kids that they should continue to go to Ohio State? Because like Travion Henderson is a 5-star recruit who committed to Ohio State blind, right? And that was like, whoa, look at Ohio State. Look at what they've been able to do. First dude to do that highly ranked since J.K. Dobbins. Difference is J.K. Dobbins eventually got to go on a visit. Travion Henderson no longer gets to go on a visit, and he doesn't get to play high school football his senior season. Like, this sucks for him. Like, it totally sucks. And in other cases, like Tony Grimes, he just decided to reclassify and join North Carolina in August. And now that's even on the table because he tried to join because he wanted to play football this year. He did not much care that it wasn't his senior season. He wanted to play football. So now there's news from Pete Thamel from Yahoo Sports saying after the Pac-12 canceling football and all sports, so like basketball is gone too in the Pac-12, the Big 12 can be looked at like a swing state in an election. I just said this. A Big 12 source in the wake of the Big 10 Pac-12 news said there's an increasing sentiment that we'll play. Yo. All right, so this news broke while I'm talking with you, so I apologize that I'm going to read this out loud to you blind, but I feel like we're all living in this thing together, and that's why I wanted to do this, is so we could commune together, because I really believe in community, and I believe in doing this stuff together. All right, so as I'm scrolling this and I'm looking at it, the lead here is the Pac-12 has canceled the fall football season. Multiple sources told Yahoo Sports the league is scheduled to make an announcement formal on Tuesday afternoon, continuing a day of seismic news and decision on the Big 10, Pac-12, Pac-12, Pac-12. What else we got about the Big 12? Okay, there's literally nothing in here about. Okay, there it is. The Pac-12 decision shifts the intrigue to the Big 12, which has a call Tuesday night. Tonight. The Big 12 is being viewed in college circles like Ohio or Florida in an election as it has the power to dictate the future of the sport. A high-ranking Big 12 official told Yahoo Sports on Tuesday afternoon, the feeling remains that the league will attempt to play. There's an increasing sentiment that will play, the official said. The decisions by the Big 10 and Pac-12 also put an onus on the ACC and SEC, which have stated clearly this week that they'd like to attempt to navigate the start of their seasons. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey pointed out on Twitter on Monday that the SEC, quote, has been deliberate, end quote, since March in making decisions about the virus. And that's also damning on the part of Big Ten. Doesn't feel like these were steps that were taken after a bunch of other deliberate steps were taken. Quite literally, had months to figure this out. Months to do it. I'm over here making 4 videos a day, doing 4 segments a day on this show, in addition to 2 hours of radio 5 days a week, and Lord knows how many other breaking news segments saying exactly that. You have a chance right now. You could say, hey, this is how we're going to make the public health officials comfortable, and this is how we're going to do liability. And you know what? Let's just overhaul this thing called amateurism and make sure we don't lose a season of football. And now we're also looking at the first season of lost football in the Big Ten and the Pac-12 since World War II. All right, what else we got in here? Who do you think is better, Caleb Williams or Spencer Rattler? The one that gets to play, dude. Like, what? Can Ohio State leave and go to another conference, or can they go independent? I think it'd be tricky to go to another conference. I think it's doable, but it's tricky because your television rights deals are tied up with other networks, namely the Big Ten network, right? How would they feel about you going to the Big 12, where you're going to play on ESPN Plus and Fox and ABC and the like, right? But I think there's a way to work it out, because at this point, people are just looking to get football on television. Because once you get football on television, then you can divvy up the money. And nobody's going to make the kind of money they expected to make. Nobody. The goal is to have some money coming in, because Scott Frost makes this point. It ain't about me and I want to play football. It's about, if we don't play football here at the University of Nebraska, there's a lot of people that ain't going to have jobs, and it's going to decimate our athletic programs in ways that nobody is able to see, and quite literally could set them back a long way, right? And I get that. That's also very true, and it's a valid point. Let me see. I for real got dudes arguing about Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams on the day that the Big Ten and Pac-12 have folded. Oh, okay, cool. What else we got in here? Okay, Mark Ferris, you get timeout, dog. You get timeout. I'm just not doing the politics today. I had like 300 people show up just to try to yell at me about politics, and nah, I'm good. Let's see. Create the Big 24. That's actually something that I've been interested in. Okay, so I wrote these down with my producer on the RJ Young show on the Sports Animal earlier this morning. There's really like 24 teams that I'd be comfortable with going into another league altogether. Out of this Power 5, we create a super league, right? And it would be the only school outside of the Power 5, because I consider Notre Dame a Power 5 program, that I would include, be Houston, because Houston's footprint is enormous. Houston, it really wants to be good at football. I mean, 1989, Andre Ware wins the Heisman Trophy without his game being on television at all. Like, not one single game on television. And Tilmer Fertitta is the kind of booster that would try to will them into that space, right? They'd be better than what Oklahoma State is in the Big 8 or the Big 12. They just would be. So, Florida State, Clemson, right? Virginia, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, right? Oregon, because Phil Knight and Nike money, USC, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, like all but 4 teams in the SEC, like Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. I'm sorry about you. No, we don't. Nah, not really, right? But Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, come on down. Alabama, of course. LSU, we saved you a seat, right? I just think that that's the way that it's going to have to be, because if you have schools that have a hard time making payroll, they need to be in a separate league, right? And I know that everybody wants to be in Power 5. But if you ain't got Power 5 money, then you ain't got Power 5 money, right? It's about having the chips to get into the poker game. It's not about how good you play poker. Ask Boise State. Marty Smith coming out on ESPN with this. Provided the conference's medical advisors say it's ultimately safe to play, a Power 3 scenario works for 2020. Big 12, ACC, SEC play the schedules you've already created. Big 12 is a 9+1. ACC is a 10+1. SEC is conference-only games. Best 4 still play in the college football playoff. Like, in that one, there is no Ohio State and Nebraska, so send all your hate mail to Marty Smith, Ohio State and Nebraska fans.